Okay, hello y'all. So, welcome to my first official uh YouTube video, TikTok. I don't really know for sure where exactly I'll be posting this, but well, I know I'm probably be posting it both on YouTube and TikTok in order to make sure it reaches the audience. So, this video is something that I've been meaning to make for a while, where I'm going to be going over my AMCAS application for the 2025 entering class. Yeah, I can't believe, well, I can believe that I'm here, but because I believed in myself throughout the process. But this is something that I have been striving for a very long time, and something where I remember watching many videos like this one and looking for black men, just black people, people of color, or just people whose stories were similar to mine and allowed me to feel seen in the whole thing. But in this whole process of becoming a physician or first becoming a medical student. Um, but yeah, so in this video, I'll be going over my whole application. I'm not sure if I might, well, I will probably be placing my essay in a separate video, but I just wanted to begin by showing the different parts of my application to show that, you don't have to be the perfect candidate to get into medical school, but what the type of things that do matter and how to show yourself in the sea of people applying. So first, I need to set some ground rules. So first, don't be mean. Be supportive. It's very hard to put yourself out there, and like I am right now. I'm thankful to all the people before me who also put themselves out in order to make sure that like people like me were able to see their videos and find inspiration from them, but that doesn't mean that I need to be one of those people. I and It doesn't mean that they have to either. So try to be nice. Be supportive in the comments. Yeah, this is not a space to discuss your affirmative action beliefs or anything like that, or to be racist, misogynistic, anything like that. So yeah. Second rule is don't copy my stuff. You will be caught. Like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to risk especially in the age where technology is where it is, you will be caught. So what you should do is find inspiration in what I say, but do not copy that. Yeah, you will be caught. Okay, and third, be yourselves, be honest, and just keep this a safe space. I want to make this a safe space for everyone, for any person to feel like or find some kind of inspiration. And yeah, so with that, uh, I'm going to begin. Okay, so now we can get into the fun part of the video, the actual content of my AMCAS application. So the AMCAS is officially released, I think, at the end of May or beginning of June. Don't quote me on that. I do not work for those people. But what I do know is when I submitted. So I submitted a little bit later. Well, not later. I submitted very early in the cycle, which is something that you need to do. You don't have to submit within the first week or the first day it comes out, but you want to be within the first month of submissions. And that's exactly what I did. And so you can see after I submitted my application, after around 17 days, I got an email from AMCAS saying that my application was processed. So what this means is that your application has officially went through the AMCAS thing, and they've confirmed it with your schools, with your grades, all of that, and they're 100% assured that whoever you said you were on that paper is who you said you are, and now they can send it over to the med schools. And as soon as that happens, depending on what schools you applied to, you will begin to receive your secondaries. So yeah, there's not much here. Let's just ask about like your what type of undergrad you went to, and or your family background and those type of things, and how you paid for your secondary education. Yeah, but this is one thing they will ask is the other impactful experiences, and this is something that I decide if you don't think you have any, you don't have to say yes, but I did feel like I had something, so I said yes. So I said, as a first in my family to earn a bachelor's degree, pursuing a medical degree feels like navigating a complex maze blindfolded. Since immigrating to the United States at 12 years old, my parents have stressed the sacrifices made to afford a world-class education, enabling me to pursue my dream of becoming a physician. While I've diligently seized every opportunity provided, perseverance alone cannot erase the obstacles I encounter as a black male from a low-income background. Despite attending Brown University on a close to full need-based scholarship, beginning in my sophomore year until my penultimate semester, I held 2 or 3 jobs each semester to earn a livable income, often sending money home to my parents to assist with utility and medical bills. In the medical field, parental income often correlates with success. As a Oh no, my phone is dying. As students benefit from a solid foundation of extensive support, including access to extensive prep materials, resources, and opportunities. Despite the ongoing challenges stemming from my background, I remain resolute in overcoming the hurdles ahead. Each step brings me closer to my goal of increasing the number of Black physicians in the United States and becoming a champion for marginalized groups in medicine, striving to promote equity and diversity within the field. And yes, like I just wanted to set my application off with a very strong note, letting them know immediately who I am before they saw anything else. Because I'm pretty sure this is the exact order that the med schools see. So then we go into the first part, the second part, which is your academic record. And as you can see, I went to Brown University, really great school, happy for my time there, but it was also Brown. And I'm happy that my school had a very good college pre-med program, which definitely did help me a lot with this. So starting off with my grades, you can see my first semester, I did okay, but I did receive a C in my first chemistry class, and the lowest grade you can get at Brown without failing the class is a C. So I considered that like a D. Like it was horrible. It was a very hard class, and I just wasn't prepared for the level of content that would be in the class coming from a not so great high school. But I did pass, and at the time, me to myself, I would have never thought that I thought that getting that C was going to ruin my entire career. I would never be able to go to medical school. I'd never be able to apply, take the MCAT, anything like that. Just being, hard on myself for this reason. So I did make it my goal to never receive another C. And that second semester, I did go back and, I did a lot better where I got like 3 A's and a B. And then I went on from there to like continuing my sophomore year. Well, this was also the semester that COVID happened. That second semester, freshman year, such a great semester, but COVID. And then onto my sophomore year, I started doing a lot better. Still maintaining mostly A's. I got 1B in an introductory in Calc 2. Professor did not very much like me. He had some racist tendencies, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But I did enjoy the material of that class, and I was only 1 point away from getting an A. Never mentioned that in my application cycle, though. But then from there on, you can see just like my level of, I just started getting a bunch of A's. Yeah, so I only got 1B my sophomore year, and then from there on, I had straight A's throughout the rest of my time at Brown, just completing all the different requirements that were needed. And then the AMCAS also does ask you about where you went to high school, and as you can see, like my high school was just a regular public school, a large public suburban school, where not a lot of kids graduate. A lot of kids are very poor, just, yeah. I didn't even know that my class size was 252. I think that just shows you, like, I think overall our class size was around like 400, 500, but only 252 graduated. I think our graduation rate was like 60 something percent, which wasn't that great in the grand scheme of things. But the MCAS does ask you about that. And then, I went to Brown. I studied Africana Studies and Cell and Molecular Biology. I started off studying Cell and Mo, and I loved it so much, but then I also started taking Africana courses. And going to a school like Brown, we have an open curriculum where we don't have any generalized requirements, so students are free to like explore and take whatever classes they want outside of their degree requirements. So I knew that I was already going to fulfill my bio requirements coming in, and having, being pre-med, it would be easy to fulfill those. And Africana came to me like in a very special way. And yeah, maybe I'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, now this is something, you don't do this yourself. I think AMCAS officially calculates it for you after you put your grades in and stuff like that. But yeah, you can see I started off my freshman year with a 3.2 GPA, which for my science GPA, and a 4.0 for my all others. And that was kind of all my time there. And I never got a B or a C or anything in a class that was in STEM, but so I had a 4.0 for that. And then my overall GPA, my first year I had like a 3.4, and then it goes up to a 3.89, and to the end I continued to maintain that 4.0. And yeah, my final science GPA was a 3.77, which, it's not the highest, but it's not the highest, but it's also not the lowest. So I thought it was a very good, and it was a place that would set me up, especially with a strong upward trend, and the other GPAs, my overall GPA was a 3.85. So I felt like I was set up to like apply to, honestly, a lot of great schools or any school I wanted to. However, where I did struggle a lot was with my MCAT. The MCAT was like the beast that kept on beasting. I ended up taking the MCAT 3 times. My first time I took the MCAT, I avoided it because I was not ready, and I took the MCAT one day, and then the next day I got on a flight to go to my aunt's funeral. So I felt like I needed to avoid that exam. And then I had registered for another exam after that, because after avoiding that one, and this was this attempt right here. And as you can see, like, I did a lot worse than I was doing on my practice exams. I must add that too. I was getting like a solid 5. I was always above a 505 to like a 510, somewhere around there. And I don't know, the MCAT was just like very hard for me. And then after graduating in 2023, I decided, after this attempt where I got a 496, I decided that, I was going to take some gap years and just kind of figure it out from there, because, this wasn't, I knew I could get better than that, and I also knew that if I wanted to go to the type of med school I wanted to go to and the type of support I needed to get a better score than that. So I took a gap year. Specifically, I'm finishing up my second gap year right now, but my first gap year, it was mostly just to study for the MCAT. And so I was able to go from a 126 on ChemPhys, which I should have probably even done a lot better on it because my scores and the practice exams were really good. And I think another thing is that I have the MCAT was just like rushed for me, and I didn't like that. I needed more time, and applying for extra time was rejected. So I just went ahead and just did it how I could and gave it my best shot. And same thing with cars, I wanted above a 126 so badly, but I ended up getting a 125. And the same thing with like bio, which was kind of crazy to me because I'm like, aren't you a bio major? But at the end of the day, you know, I knew that I was more than an exam, and that the other parts of my exam, my other parts of my med school application criteria would fulfill that. So I felt like I was a little bit balanced. So in the end, I had because I had a 3.7 GPA with a 504 MCAT. But my MCAT overall felt like it was the 504 was like a very balanced-ish 504. So it did bring me, I felt like it could bring me a long way. Okay. Another thing is I also remember I did take I didn't take the AMC purview, but I did take the Casper, and that wasn't as great either. I think my Casper was whatever like middle ground score could be. It was I think if it, I don't remember if it was like how it was graded, but I just remember thinking it wasn't a great score. But anyways, now let's get into where I think, apart from my personal statement, where I think really just sold me to these people, the different schools that I applied to. So my first activity, I don't like the way this is presented, so I'm just gonna start by talking about my most meaningfuls. You're allowed to put 15 um, activities on your AMCAS, but only 3 of them are listed as your most meaningful. So my first meaningful was my position as a research assistant, and how I did my experience description was I started by saying, after taking Professor Gary Wessel's reproductive biology course, I was fascinated with his research in embryology and genetics using sea urchins as a model organism. Entering my senior year, I expressed my desire to gain more wet lab experience and to complete an honors thesis under Dr. Wessel's guidance. While time was limited, I investigated the connection between gene expression and pigment variation in sea urchin spines using qPCR and several other molecular and computational biology techniques. My work culminated in an honors thesis being presented at the Biology Poster Symposium and is currently being published as part of a genetic regulation of pigmentation project. And that work ended up being published in Nature, but was not published until actually after I was accepted to medical school. So even if you have a paper that's you're working on it still and it's not published yet, you can mention it. And there were times in interviews where people definitely did ask me about my research, and I was able to just like talk about it and geek out with them. And so now I talk about my most meaningful experience remarks. And so I say, as a senior entering a new laboratory without preliminary data, completing an honors thesis was a difficult task. However, under the guidance of Dr. Whistle, Gerardo Reyes, and the support from everyone at Primo, I was provided with an atmosphere that made excellence possible. The role of flavin monooxygenase in pigment formation in echinoderms explored the connection between enzymatic proteins and phenotypic presentation. I hypothesized that the diverse color morphs seen in echinoderms are caused by the FMOs modifying the base polyketide made by PKS. I planned experiments focusing on the S. pluripatus and the H. plur species. I designed and tested primers for 5 FMOs isoforms and extracted RNA from spines using cDNA via reverse transcriptase and conducted controlled quantitative real-time PCR. Analysis of CQ values revealed gene expression differences correlating with phenotypic appearance with statistical significance, confirming my hypothesis. And side note, this was just like also so great to like be able to say this, because I was like, I know what this means, even if it's like hard to read. And I know the people who are like reading it in the med schools, even if they don't necessarily know exactly what it means, based on how I wrote it, I just did like, this is perfect. You just geeked out on it perfectly, and I know for a fact that they are following. And so, okay, next part. I say, my time in the Wessel lab allowed me to see myself as more than just a person who enjoys science, but also a scholar capable of scientific inquiry. As I pushed myself to complete my thesis, it solidified to me that as a future physician, I will aim to work in the intersection of clinical care and research. And this is something that is so true to me. I want to become a scientific physician or a physician scientist. No matter what field I ended up in, I will 100% do research. And so my next most meaningful experience was about my time at Northwestern with the Northwestern Pre-Med Internship Program. And this is a shameless plug for that program. Best program ever. I did it coming out of my sophomore year, between my sophomore and junior year. COVID was on the come down, kind of, and we had vaccines, so it was the perfect time, and just my first summer away from home, and also my first summer getting to actually enjoy summer, because my freshman summer was spent at home due to COVID. Okay, so I start and I say, as a pre-med intern, I transported patients, learned surgical scrub techniques, and worked on a research project and rotated between several specialties. Being exposed to the intricacies of medicine for the first time, my imposter syndrome made it uncharacteristically difficult to introduce myself while on rounds. However, as I progressed learning from patients and medical students from diverse backgrounds like my own, I grew comfortable in this world. Northwestern's diverse patient population exposed me to the various healthcare challenges from undocumented patients to victims of gun violence. This internship gave me a glimpse into a world of expansive possibilities to practice medicine. And then my most meaningful remarks is, on my first day in the operating room, I expected to be observing from a television screen. However, after the patient was sedated for surgery and placed in the proper position, I was told to go scrub in. While excited to be fully immersed in the OR, having no prior experience scrubbing in, it made me anxious. Trisha, a medical student, noticed my uneasiness and offered to teach me the proper technique. Use this soap, scrub between your fingers, around your fingers, all over your hand. Once washed, you're sterile. Touch nothing. Protect your sterile space. Even with this advice, I still made mistakes, forcing me to rescrub twice. Nonetheless, everyone in the operating room, from the surgeons to the nurses, cheered me on, sharing stories of mistakes they made over the years. This experience showed me that with training and correct support, medicine is a place where I will thrive. Medicine is often perceived as a field of perfectionism, with little room for error. This medical team showed me differently. In medicine, we will always strive for perfection, but before perfection, there is practice. Even through practice, mistakes may persist, but that is okay. Return to the starting line and begin it again. Listen to instructions, be observant, ask for help. And I know I ate that. Yeah, I remember writing that and just think, and this is also just a tip for you guys. Whenever you have, I wrote this long before actually writing it for my MCAS, because just reflect. I believe in reflecting and just in the moment always writing down things. So as you can see here, I will show you what this book says because it will reveal what med school I'm going to. But yeah, as you can see, I write things all the time, just like making sure to keep it down. And after this experience, which is a very true experience to me, I remember going home to my apartment and just like feeling bad, but just like knowing that I can just write this down. And yeah, and so then from there, my next important, most meaningful experience was being a TA. So I had the privilege of just being a TA for so many classes at Brown. As you can see, it's a lot of hours, but yeah, so I'll just get into it. As a teaching assistant to Dr. Miller's Foundations of Living System, I worked with students across grade levels offering strategies to approach this introductory course. Key to this role was a weekly laboratory section where I taught experiments related to class material. I also held office hours and exam review sessions. Overall, I created a welcoming atmosphere to comprehend and critically analyze the concepts key to biological sciences, allowing students to feel comfortable asking for help or for me to advocate for their needs to the course material. And yeah, and for where I talked about my most meaningful experience remarks, I said, expanding my TA role, I facilitated multiple courses: diversity of life, biochemistry, and biomolecular interactions. Having served as a TA for 4 courses at Brown, often 2 a semester, I was able to work with students as they endured difficult courses. Expanding my role, I facilitated multiple courses: diversity of life, biochemistry, and biomolecular interactions. Having served as a TA for 4 courses at Brown, often 2 a semester, I was able to work with students as they endured the difficult biology concentration requirements. In my STEM courses, I noticed that as course numbers increase, the number of Black and UFly students decrease. As I entered classrooms with more than 50 students, I was one of 2 Black people in the room. As a first-time TA in Bio 200, I made it my goal to create an environment where students thrive no matter their background. After speaking with numerous students, I proposed a collaborative review session at Brown's Center for Undocumented First-Gen Low-Income Students. Located in the middle of the Sciences Library, the UFly Center was a safe space for students like myself. Before each exam, I spent hours not only providing students with additional review materials like slides and practice questions, but also offered mentorship. By bringing sessions directly to them, a learning zone void of imposter syndrome was created, helping students to see that they belonged at Brown and have the capabilities of pursuing biology or any field they choose. With all the great reviews, I was able to continue to bring these sessions to other courses I TA'd, even influencing other TAs to do the same. And yeah, even now reading that, it takes me back and makes me very proud. And so now, I will get back into the other activities and just reading those of my other 13 activities. So next is the Biana Brown Scholarship Foundation. Yeah, you should check that out, bnbscholars.org, and donate to us if you can. So this is a scholarship that I also was a recipient of and had the beauty of, I'll just read it. As a 2019 BNB scholarship recipient, I was inducted into a network of alumni from underprivileged schools who shared the goal of making the college transition more seamless. As an undergraduate, I was an integral scholar, and upon graduating, I was honored to be offered the role of Director of Alumni Relations. My primary responsibility is to develop and implement a comprehensive alumni engagement strategy to build and maintain relationships between the foundation and our alumni. This involves organizing mixers, gathering feedback, making calls to increase engagement. Through these efforts, I have fostered stronger connections, encouraging alums to serve as mentors for our current scholars. And yeah, that just kind of like simply just talked about what we do. You know what I mean? And I was just very happy for that. And yeah, so you can see, I've just anticipated the hours I already completed and the hours yeah. And then next was just my job. Paid employment. So NJ Pain and Spine is a network of medical professions that take long-term and short-term approaches to treating chronic pain. As a clinical toxicology technician, I am in charge of testing for metabolites in patient samples, ensuring that they do not have any prohibited substance in their supplements. I'm also responsible for monitoring the daily activities of the lab, ensuring instrument calibration, proper specimen handling and disposal, supply management, maintenance of records, and rapid results. My work has allowed me to understand the complexities of healthcare system, showing me how important each member of the medical team is needed for is and needed for care to be efficient and high quality. And so you see, I probably would have rewritten that, like, this was probably one of the last ones I wrote. And now I'm rereading it, I'm like, okay, you could have added a comma somewhere. Don't be like me. But or you can be like me if you want. I don't know. It's up to you. But yeah, you just have to like put in the work to get where you want to be. And so then I did use a section to just talk about my honors, awards, and recognitions. And yeah, you can see I was magna cum laude. I got a lot of A's, so yeah, I got honors in my concentration. I was elected to the Sigma Psi Scientific Research Society. Received awards for different clubs I was a part of. I received ultras for research, and I was a Rhodes Scholar nominee. And I was a top achiever in biochemistry, which is something that one of my teachers would tell me, that I had like the top 5 highest score in the class. Yeah. I read this one already. And so next, I talked about Connect for Health, which was this program I did, and I truly did enjoy it. But COVID definitely, and the post-COVID was just a very, very tough time to have this position. So yeah, I said, as a patient advocate at the Rhode Island Hospital, I facilitated access to basic needs for Providence's diverse population by integrating them into healthcare delivery. Collaborating with physicians and social workers through the United Us electronic medical platform, I addressed both medical needs and social determinants of health. Weekly, I engaged with clients, documented their needs, and researched eligibility for different Connect for Health programs before connecting them. Additionally, I volunteered at the Rhode Island Hospital's food bank, packing and distributing boxes of produce. Witnessing the improvement in our patients over the year was the highlight of my work with Connect for Health. And that was so true. Sometimes just giving people some vegetables and seeing them smile and their kids smile, it was honestly a very special experience. And yeah, I think wherever you go to undergrad, you should always try to get involved with the local population there, not because you want to put it on your resume, just because it's the right thing to do, and it's a way to just put things into perspective. Okay, so next up, I talked about my role as the board chair of Brown Concert Agency, BCA. So as the chair of BCA, I was in charge of continuing Spring Weekend, a tradition that has been key to the campus life since 1950. My main responsibility was to allocate a budget of $500,000 to organizing a 2-day music festival. From securing top-tier artists and vendors and emergency medical staff, my role required meticulous documentation and organization. To prepare to welcome over 5,000 people on the main green, I regularly met with the university event staff, security, and production companies. Overall, serving as the chair of the largest student-run festival in Rhode Island allowed me to receive a deeper understanding of how to hold large events and the required steps to create a safe environment. And yeah. Next, I talked about a role I had as a research assistant. I didn't list my correct PI's name because I did not like that lady. But and she did not like me either, and she was very racist. But I didn't have to talk about that. There were times on the interviews where somebody might have asked me something like that, and I might have spoke a little bit about it, but not really. Because a lot of times, all you have to do is just put the importance from these things. You don't have to think about everything you did. Just think about the most important parts and what it means to you as a scholar, as a person, and as a future physician. Okay, so I don't even want to read this. Very important. Next, I talked about, this is I already read that. I read that too. And then I talked about, there's a section where, for one of my activities, I listed the different shadowing hours that I had, talking about I got to shadowing gastroenterology and hepatology, a lot of colon and rectal surgery, dermatology, emergency medicine, urology, and I do think I am interested in urology most of all. This was a very, very eye-opening experience for me, and neuro-oncology. Next, I did talk about a role I held over my freshman summer as a research assistant. So I served as a research assistant for the measurement of critical thinking and doctoral psychologist project with Dr. Paul Block. Our goal was to define critical thinking and develop a quantitative measuring tool, the critical thinking quality scale, for doctoral level work. Though I was the only undergraduate, I was tasked with the data management and analysis and presenting these results during our weekly meetings. Additionally, I met with the PI monthly to provide feedback on my team's progress with the scoring of various literature and improvements that could be made to the scale. This position allowed me to continue developing key research skills during a period of remote schooling. And yeah, and then I just also talked about my role as a John. So that was a position I held for 3 years of college and left it my last year. So I said the John program is Brown's largest student-run organization with the goal of creating an advising triangle between a peer advisor, an academic advisor, and their first-year mentee. As a John leader, I planned and oversaw the program. Beginning in the summer, I worked with the dean of the college to plan John training, advising pairings and academic year requirements, and facilitated orientation seminars on course registration and intersectionality. I also oversaw a group of 30 peer Johns throughout the academic year, ensuring that they were all equipped to handle any issues or questions their advisees had from academic, social, and mental concerns. And yes, then I talked about being the president of the Students of Caribbean Ancestry, SOCA. So as a first year student, I scout, and this is something I love, SOCA. As a first year student, I scoured the activities fair searching for a SOCA stable. Coming up empty, I was informed that SOCA had been inactive since 2018. I was a part of 2 attempts of reactivation. In my final year as president, amidst the uncertainty of post-COVID landscape, SOCA flourished. We assembled a 18-member board and secured $40,000 in funding, making us the highest funded cultural organization on campus. From our lively fall concert, Wine and Koch, to our general body meetings and festive spring Caribbean soiree featuring steel bands, masquerade costumes, and Trinidadian cuisine, I worked tirelessly to establish a space where Caribbean culture was respected and celebrated. I know, a lot to take in. I'm not going to read my personal statement. I don't feel like giving you guys that yet. But if enough people request it, I will. But my personal statement is some heat, I must say. My last 2, I talked about being a part of the African dance team, which I was a part of for 3-ish years at Brown. I started leaving it more so in my final year just because I just didn't have enough time to do everything, and that's something you will learn. At some points you're just going to have to put things down. So as a captain of Brown's only African dance group during the height of a pandemic, I was tasked with keeping this vital cultural resource alive when live auditions and performances weren't possible. Being the contact person for the Student Activities Office and the University Finance Board, I was charged with crafting an annual budget, upholding COVID restrictions, and creating a plan to solidify Oja's place at Brown and the Providence community. Additionally, as a senior member, I was a creative director and a choreography where my dances merged Jamaican traditional styles like the Dinky Mini and dancehall with hip-hop and West African forms, further showcasing the diverse backgrounds of our members. And then last, I talked about a program I started myself and have been doing. I didn't add any anticipated hours, but it's just something that I've been doing throughout all my time at college, and even in high school I was doing the same thing. So attending Spring Valley High School, an underfunded, low-performing public school, few of my classmates were expected to attend college. Majority of students, being immigrants or the first in their families to be born in America, were merely expected to earn a diploma. As a graduating senior in 2019, having experienced the difficulties of applying to college, I created an internship program to help bridge the gap. Over the past 5 years, I have assisted over 20 students with essay writing, editing, SAT prep, interview prep, FAFSA filing, college selection, etc. Through this program, I have made the college process more transparent with all my mentees attending 4-year universities. So yeah, that was my the last of my activities. And so now, if you're wondering what schools I applied to, I ended up applying to 32 schools, and in the end, I was accepted to 10. I can talk more about that in the next video, or should I do it this video? We'll see. So I recognize that I never said this at did a official end to the last video. So I had written down some tips that I wanted to leave with you guys, the audience, but the video was so long that I just decided that I was gonna stop it. I was kind of tired, but I'm back, and I'm looking a little bit rough because I was just editing this video. I don't like editing, but I had to because I was like, you know what, I've been sitting on this content for like a week. I also said I was gonna do this for make this video for so long, and I put it off for so long because I was a little bit scared, but I just got to do it. So here's the 3 final tips, or there's gonna be more than 3, but here's some tips that I had overall for the whole application cycle. Is 1, your stats matter, but only so much. I feel like sometimes you're so focused on, okay, I got this, I got that, I got a A, I got a B, I got a C, got a 528, I got a 510, got a 500, that like we forget to put the actual effort into the things that we're doing. And I'm not just talking about like the writing of your activities, but simply just putting the energy into the things that you're doing. If you're only focused on only getting into med school, you're missing out on all the greatness that's happening on the way there. So your stats only matter so much, but your experiences and the way you write about them matter so much more. So, yeah. Next, oh, well, overall, I'm just saying to be balanced, focus on your extracurriculars, your service positions, and all those, and still focus on school, but it only matters so much in the end of it all, of your whole application. Second, submit your application, both your primary and your secondaries, early. I submitted, I forgot the date that I said at the beginning of the video, but I submitted pretty early. Not the earliest you can submit, but still very early, to the point where after like 3 weeks of being submitted, I had like 20 secondaries rolling in. And you don't want to take too long for those. I wanted my secondaries to be back within a week of time of receiving them. And so yeah, submit early, but also prepare. So as soon as you're done submitting your primary, you got to get on those websites, start finding Shemesian. Yep. Just literally Google 2024 cycle secondaries or 2025, because maybe the official ones have been released, because somebody might have submitted earlier than you. But yeah, don't sit around waiting. There's always something to do, especially unless until you get to the point where you've submitted all your secondaries and you're just waiting to hear back. Okay, so third, write creatively, but don't be boring, and also don't force it. So I consider myself a very strong writer, and I also know that I'm a strong writer. So sometimes just simply like putting things down on paper just got a little bit too boring for me, and it didn't seem like it was showing me. And so how I would do it instead would be to tell an experience, and in that experience talk about what I'm doing at my job. Like, yes, I talk, like for example with my Northwestern story, I say all the things that I do as a pre-med intern, but I also talk about a time when I'm on rounds as a pre-med intern and something that happened there that was meaningful to me. So I'm not saying do exactly that, but it worked for me, and it's something that I don't know. Whenever I was in interviews, I would always get, people would always ask me about specific things. I've been asked about like even in the things that you wouldn't expect in a secondary, where it's like not the most important part of it for you, but you write about something and somebody asks you about it, whether being music, whether being medicine related, or just above all. But yeah, that's all I have for this video, and thanks for tuning in with me. And I applied to 32 med schools, got into a bunch. Where am I gonna go? Did get into some top schools, did get into some, yeah. So look forward to that, and gas me up in the comments, and thank you once again for tuning in.